Do you remember the show The Teletubbies? Am I just dating myself? Didn't they have something like this coming out of them? Well, what is this? Well, you're going to have to watch the episode to find out, but this is something I actually do practically every day that actually is probably the newest science I've ever brought you. Do you realize there's 4 phases of water? This thing actually has something to do with it. Oh, and something that you can add to your life to transform your recovery and your healing. The 4th phase of water. I'm not giving you any more of that. You're going to have to watch the episode. Stay tuned.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cellular Healing TV. I'm Ashley Smith, and today we welcome Hans Eng, who is the inventor who developed the NanoV technology, and he's the CEO of the Eng3 Corporation. You may remember the NanoV device from episode 289 about the 4th phase of water. Today, Hans will be taking it even further, and he'll explain how water's many attributes, from protein folding and ordered water, influence activities in the cell. And Dr. Pompa has it demoing during this episode as well, which is really exciting. So let's get started and welcome Hans Eng and, of course, Dr. Pompa. Welcome, both of you.
Hello, nice to be here.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to have you. So last time I interviewed your wife, and she was so lovely, and she is the one who really said, Dr. Pompa, you have to check out this technology. And I did. And, you know, me, myself, my friend Ben Greenfield, we all use these, and I use it all the time. You can see I have it sitting literally on my desk, and because I will use it, you know, just even a couple times during the day, I'll just pop it on. That's how easy it is. And you can see I'm doing that now. Let me just show people the device. Okay, there's the device. And I'll re-show it after you start explaining it. You know, we kind of tapped in. You're the science behind it. And, you know, I want to tell that story. How did you discover this? Why did you discover this? And then we'll kind of jump into some of the details of the benefits and everything, because obviously, you know, this is key for recovery, healing, and that's why a lot of athletes use it, and that's why a lot of my doctors use it in their offices for people who have challenged conditions. So we'll talk about why it works. But how did you get into this? How did you discover this technology, and why? Start there.
Yeah. That goes very, very far back to all the work that I did before we had this own company and before we had this product. That is based on cell biology, basically on structural cell biology. So my background is mechanical devices, human implants, and the connection surface between implants and the tissue. And we always saw that there's a challenge how certain kind of implants are growing into bones and those things. So we started very early, decades ago, to research cell biology. And we looked in what is a major damaging effect, why cells are not working anymore properly, why they don't execute their function. Different cells have different functions, and why they don't do this anymore. And we saw that it's mainly because they lose the protein function. The proteins are not working anymore. The proteins are orchestrating all kind of functions. And when you lose one function, that will lead very fast to another disruption, and you accumulate damages, and the entire damages are then in certain tissue areas are causing the aging. The tissues are simply not working anymore, lose function, what we call aging. So by researching this in depth, it became clear that one of these most important factors for the protein damaging process are the oxidation with the free radicals. Free radicals are unavoidably produced during the ATP production. They are emitted within the cells, and within the cells, they grab and connect whatever is in front of them. And the most abundant components in the cells are the proteins. We have 10,000 of different proteins in a cell. And when they connect with these guys, they lose their function, they unfold, and now the body has to refold. So, and then we went more in the direction, what is the initial folding process? That was then very much water science. So at the end, we had a device.
Yeah, so I mean, just so people can understand, we are proteins, right? You know, and the ability of the body to make proteins successfully is it's how it makes hormones, it's how it makes tissue, regenerates, repairs, you know. So in the cell, there's this area where we make proteins, and you mentioned the word fold proteins. I know people get confused about that. What does that even mean? Because this device, as you're going to hear, folks, it creates a certain water that the cell makes. It's the fourth phase of water, and not to be confused there. We have water in its liquid form. We have water, obviously vapor, and we have ice. I mean, there's these forms of water. This is the fourth phase that is in a cell where these proteins are made and folded, which we've learned is critical to the cell function and healing and all that. So kind of now that with that little background for people, you know, this device, you know, helps us breathe in, if you will, the fourth phase of water. But kind of go into the science about the proteins, why they're so important, why would we want to increase this water, so we can put this all into context for the machine.
Yeah, the proteins are the most important parts in living species. And we know a lot of proteins. We know insulin, we know a lot of hormones. Yeah? They are not only in the oxygen transport involved, like the hemoglobin. They're involved in the ATP production. There are enzymes in it. The enzymes, which are proteins helping us to digest. They are antibodies. They are fighting against intrusion components. So the proteins are involved in all kind of functions. They are orchestrating all biochemical reactions in our body. And we know a lot of biochemical reactions, and we know a lot of components. So one of the most important components that everybody knows is the oxygen. That is a molecule that we inhale. Enzymes are orchestrating the oxygen metabolism, the oxygen utilization. We produce cell energy. We have vitamins, we have minerals, we have a lot of other parts in our cells that we take mainly in with food. And the proteins are doing something. They are orchestrating their biochemical reaction. Proteins are there to control our body temperature. If we are sick, if we have intruders, they lift the body temperature so that we are getting into an area where proteins which are not belonging into our body are getting denatured, they fall apart. When that is done, they try to reduce the temperature again, that we are not at all falling apart. We know when we are too long high temperature, we are dying. That's not healthy, because the proteins are falling all apart. We know a lot of other biophysical influences from the outside, the temperature, pressure, and those things. And the proteins in our body, they orchestrate. What we do with is how our body is coping with certain situations, and if necessary, they produce even things. So certain kind of amino acids. Proteins are built out of amino acids. 50% are produced within our body. The production of these 50% amino acids is orchestrated by proteins. So the other 50% of the one we have to take in with our food. Otherwise, we have a deficiency, and if we know that we have only 22 proteins, they are building up to 900,000 different proteins. So if one would miss, would not be there in our system, we would recognize it. A lot of things would go wrong. So by addressing the proteins, which are a kind of let us think about a tree, and the crown of the tree are all biochemical reactions, and this crown of the tree can only be big and flowering when the roots, the proteins, are there good enough that they can support the entire thing up there. You can supplement, or you can have pharmaceuticals using. If the proteins are not there, they can not organize this biochemical process. You will not have an improvement.
Yeah. So, okay, in the cell, there's this special place you can talk about, the easy zone. And this is where these proteins get made, folded, I mean, think about folding, like, you know, making paper airplanes that have different functions.
Yeah.
So everything that you talked about, yeah, the body utilizes and boxes all these little proteins. That happens in a very special place, which is where this device comes in. Explain that.
Yeah. Let us go a little bit back. The proteins are being formed. The blueprint is a DNA, and they are formed out of amino acids. These amino acids are building a long chain. This chain has to fold in the right, let's say, shape of a knot. And only when they are shaped in the right way, they can interact with each other. Now they fit in each other, and they can then start the biochemical reactions. This folding process from the unfolded into the correct folded one is a thermodynamic process. From the unordered state into the ordered state. That is in physics, that is an unfavored direction. So without any help, it would never occur, this change from the unordered to the ordered.
Got it.
And you know it, yeah? You know it by yourself, everybody knows it. It's very difficult to keep your desk ordered. Yeah? You have to put some effort in, otherwise it is very unordered. Yeah? So
Entropy.
Entropy, right. So this entropy change, yeah, from the unordered to the ordered state is an exchange, and today we know it is an exchange between the water. So the water that is surrounding a protein, yeah, has to be in a higher order, and when this amount of order is high enough, then it flips over into the protein. The protein gains the order, and the water around the protein is losing it. Yeah? So now the water has to build up again this order to have the cycle running again. Yeah? And that is where we looked a little bit deeper and I said, how is it possible? What actually creates constantly this kind of higher order? And you mentioned it several times. It's also called exclusion zone water, EZ water. What creates this? Yeah? And today we know, and there are a lot of publications out since for the last 14 years, maybe 15 years, yeah, about water science, and the university here in Seattle with a team around Professor Pollack. They are basically the leading group of it. Yeah? They could show that certain kind of electromagnetic energy is absorbed by water. Yeah? Most of the electromagnetic energy that we know is not absorbed. It goes simply through the water. Yeah? But some electromagnetic energy is being absorbed by water and then transferred like a wave through the water until it hits the surface. At the surface, there is no more movement possible. This energy, this wave has to pile up, and then it creates a higher order of the water. So this energy, this electromagnetic energy, that is now the interesting thing, is always produced within the cell with healthy people. Yeah? So healthy organisms are producing this electromagnetic energy because it is a byproduct of a free radical. So these so bad free radicals are very life important for us. Yeah? Because one specific free radical is an excited oxygen that emits a special wavelength. This wavelength transfers through the water in the cells until it hits to the surface of a protein, sorted there, it piles up, creates easy water, which is therefore at the end triggering the folding process.
When you drink water, this is not an organized water, right? Your body then has to take this water, create this exclusion zone water, which is a very ordered water that goes, that has to be what's in the cell to where it folds these proteins and all this magic happens that you're talking about. So it's safe to say that people that lack energy, have health challenges, they don't have enough. They're lacking this, ordered water in the cell, this fourth phase of water. Therefore, then they're not folding proteins correctly. And therefore, then that affects everybody hormonally. They're not recovering. Is that a really brief kind of too simplified version of what's going on?
No, that is not a simplified, that is a perfect version of the description. Yeah? People who have a certain kind of disorder or need for regeneration, it's a sign that they are lacking. Their body cannot produce enough of this exclusion zone water by itself.
Yeah. And people challenged to do that. This is where, assistance would actually make an athlete that's breaking themselves down very rapidly. I read your studies on this. The fact that an athlete doing this recovered so much quicker by utilizing this device 25 minutes a day versus the athletes that weren't. And it's because of this ordered water, this exclusion zone water that we're talking about. They're able to fold more proteins, therefore heal faster. I mean, just keeping it simple.
Yeah, yeah. And the healing part, that is a medical part, yeah. More likely the medical part when we talk about healing. And there is this entire area of chronic disease, which is all lack of protein function. You lost some protein function.
Right.
Yeah? But there is an entire performance level, that is a mental and the physical performance. Yeah? When you think not only about athletes who are physically working, yeah? We have mental athletes. Yeah?
Right.
Everybody who is a high performer with their head. You are running marathon every day with your head. At the end of the week, therefore you are tired. Yeah? And you can recognize when you use this device, like you said, only half an hour, maybe even an hour, yeah? That at the end of the week, you are not exhausted. You regenerate it every day a little bit faster, yeah? And at the end, you accumulated at the end of the week or after a period recognizable benefits when you regenerate faster.
Yeah.
So it's not only the physical, it's a mental area too.
Well, it's the cool thing is healthy people notice it, and so do unhealthy people. I think even notice it more, obviously. So okay, I mean, what does this machine do? And again, I'll re-show it down here that we can kind of, okay, you can see that there's some water in blue. I can't even see my own thing. Okay, yeah, there it is. Okay, so it looks like there's water boiling. It's not boiling, it's just air, but it's bubbling, I guess is a better word. And it's coming out of this, up this tube, and then you're seeing it, me breathing it. Now, there's another way to do it. You can just breathe the air that comes directly out of this with a little thing.
Perfect.
So
yes.
You don't need this. I'm doing this. It's easier for the show than me sit here like this and breathe the air. I guess you could also take it in via the lungs this way, right? Directly into the mouth. Because this special exclusion zone water that this is creating, it's making its way into my mucous membranes, into my bloodstream, correct?
Yeah, a little clarification in this part, yeah. Okay. The exclusion zone has to get produced on the surface of the proteins, yeah. Okay. So we don't want that exclusion zone comes out, that these droplets in the humidity are exclusion zone, because that would mean the exclusion zone is on the surface of the droplets. Yeah? And in the moment the surface would touch your body, it would disappear. Okay. Yeah? Between this excitation unit that is within the device and the exclusion zone that is formed on your proteins, there's another phase, and that is called the coherent phase. Yeah? So that is an important phase that produces at the end the exclusion zone. Yeah? And the coherent phase, therefore, we need the humidity that you described is being created in the bubbling jar. Yeah? So we need around 80% humidity that is then exposed to this electromagnetic energy. When that is absorbed, the humidity forms the so-called coherent phase. Yeah? So coherent phase. Think about something like you drive with a motorboat on a lake, yeah? And the motorboat creates a wake. Yeah? This wake, there is some energy in. Yeah? And that builds a kind of coherent phase. Yeah?
Okay.
If you would have something swimming on the lake, say you have a duck swimming on the lake, yeah, the wake wouldn't really do something to the duck. It would go a little bit up and down. Yeah. If you have a swimmer or a fish in there, they wouldn't even recognize the wake. Yeah. But when the wake hits the surface, the beach, you see that it forms ribbons and it becomes compressed and those things. Yeah. So what we need for the transfer of this electromagnetic absorbed energy is the humidity, and through the entire humidity, this energy is being transferred to surfaces. Yeah? And in our case, when it hits the mucous membrane, it goes in the watery system of our body until it hits the surface of proteins. So, and the clinical studies that were then done and the material science studies, they were done with a device to measure and to see if this easy zone is being created on proteins. Yeah? So the device is being used, and instead of you inhaling it, it is put to probes in research centers where proteins are embedded in, yeah, cell structures, and with a microscope, you can see how then this kind of humidity causes the build-up of the easy water around the proteins. Yeah? You can really see this, how that builds up in the moment when the humidity hits. Yeah? So if you put you under a microscope, now you could actually see that this easy zone is building formed. Yeah? It cascades through the entire body.
Wow, I'm tempted to ask, like, how did you come up with this? But I fear none of us would understand. I mean, I know that you're hitting that water with certain wavelengths of light, and I would argue that if that's the case, then the more time we spend outside the sun, we're actually naturally creating this same process, right? In the fourth phase in our body. Is that? Am I right about that?
That is partially right. Yeah? The first thing is the electromagnetic wave that is emitted is not in the visual spectrum. So it's not light, it's not red, not green, not blue, or anything like this. Yeah? The blue color that you see on a device outside there is only decoration. Yeah? The wavelength that is emitted inside is, now it's important part, is absorbed by water. Yeah? So water absorbs it. So the spectrum is part of the sunshine. You're correct with this. But between the sunshine and us is a lot of humidity in the atmosphere. And because water absorbs this energy, it doesn't reach down to us. Yeah? So that happens all in the higher atmosphere, yeah? Where you have, as a reason, other results that build up caused by easy water. Yeah? And that is, for example, the clouds. Yeah? The droplets in the clouds are all surfaced of easy water, exclusion zone water. Yeah? So the other interesting thing is with the exclusion zone water, you can measure it, it's a different material attribute, it's negative charged. Yeah? And when you have a huge amount of cloud, humidity up there that is negative charged, then you have the repulsion from the earth. Yeah? So you can have then 10,000 tons of water hanging in the sky and cannot fall down because of repulsion. Yeah? At first you have to lose the easy water on the surface, and then it falls down. Then you have heavy rain. Yeah? But beforehand, you have a lot of weight hanging in the sky because the humidity in the sky absorbed this electromagnetic energy from the sun, and then it will rain later. Yeah? So that is one of the reasons why we don't get it from the sun. And the other reason is we have the skin. The skin is a protection for us in a lot of parts, and that cannot have this kind of electromagnetic energy being transmitted into our body. Yeah? So our system relies in the first step on the situation that we have to generate it within our body,
right,
through the radicals.
Yeah, so I would argue that electromagnetic fields today, EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, etc., deplete our body's ability to make this fourth phase of water. Is there truth to that? Even other toxins?
Yeah, we have not looked in it, yeah, but one thing is with a lot of different electromagnetic energies, yeah, they are affecting biochemical reactions.
Right.
Yeah? Or if they are strong enough, I mean, we are using radiation technology to kill cells like cancer cells. Yeah, that is electromagnetic energy. Yeah? If we have too much UV, we are getting damaged cells. Yeah, electromagnetic energy in the wrong amount has a bad effect on our system. Absolutely, yes. Yeah, but it cannot really affect this production of this specific energy because it is produced by free radicals. And we are producing free radicals whenever we inhale and exhale. Whenever we need cell energy, doesn't matter if you would like to run or if you would like to do mental performance for studying something, anything like this, that all requires cell energy. We are producing free radicals during this process. As a byproduct, we create this energy, but never enough to repair all the damages that all the majority of free radicals are causing.
Right. So you have a diagram, pictures worth 1,000 words, that maybe brings this all, full circle for everybody. Do you want to show that and point some things out?
Yeah, I can see to do this. Now I need my cursor here and share very quickly this.
While you're doing that, okay, yeah, you have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here you see a little bit here what I mentioned before in this tree. So the upper part, the green area of the tree with all these different leaves, we can say that is each leaf is a symbol of.
You can use your cursor, I think, and it will show up.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So all these things here, all these little branches, twigs, and leaves that are here are symbols of certain kind of biochemical reactions. That could be the ATP production, that could be the oxygen utilization, the inflammatory response. These are all biochemical reactions. And we know that we need certain kind of biochemical reactions. We need ingredients for it. We need vitamins, we need minerals, we need certain things out of food, what we are breathing. So there are endless biochemical reactions. If we have a deficiency in one, we are getting unhealthy, or we are simply aging in this part. So we know that all these biochemical reactions, they're all being orchestrated through the root area, which is a symbol of all the proteins.
Okay.
And proteins are hormones. They are controlling not only our behavior, but a lot of other things. We have enzymes, we have transport proteins, we have signaling proteins, antibodies. So that is a huge family of different responsibilities. And we assume that our body has around 900,000 different proteins. We know only around 30,000. So there is still a huge gap. All the proteins have one thing in common. They are built out of 22 amino acids. Either we have to eat them, half of it, the other half is being produced in our body. But we have to supplement it if we need more proteins for our life. So all the proteins, the DNA builds the blueprint, are created through the RNA encryption. So they take the amino acids, stitch these amino acids to a very long chain together, and this chain floats around in the watery environment of the cell. And the last final step to have a working, functional protein is a folding process. And this folding process, as mentioned earlier, is being triggered by the water that is surfacing the protein. Here we have to create now and accumulate enough order that then in the entropy change flips over in the protein. That is a very fast process, and it is in every moment that we live, it has to happen. And in the moment that will get slower and we are hanging behind, we are losing the function. The accumulation of function is basically the aging part.
So, I mean, the better you fold proteins, the healthier you are. Better hormones, the more enzymes, the better your digestion, the better your brain works, the better ATP. Cellular detox. I mean, everything that your cell does, you do better when you fold proteins successfully or efficiently. I don't know which word you like better.
Yeah. It will all work better if you have the right and enough of the ingredients for the biochemical reaction. Yeah, like
Right.
you said, like you mentioned in other talks, you have to give the right thing into the body, that these proteins who are orchestrating the chemical reaction have all the components available for doing it. Yeah?
How long ago did science learn that it was in this exclusion zone, easy zone water in the cell that we folded the proteins? I mean, we've known about folded proteins for many years, but how long ago was this science? Um,
Yeah, the first observations of this is from the early 90s,
okay.
but that is around 30 years ago. That the protein folding process is an entropy change that goes back to the 1900 end of the 50s, 1955, 1959, back to this area, where simply the theoretic approaches showed that only the entropy change can address all those proteins, that is fast enough to do it, and efficient enough to do it without any external influences. So entropy change important. The first observation that they are doing it based on it, and then around 15 years, 16 years ago, all the research from the university around Professor Pollard, who proved that the creation of this kind of ordered water is possible. How it's possible, it's even visible, you can see it, and then it was influencing not only the cell biology. This knowledge goes also in a lot of other technical areas where it is an important part for systems.
When people talk about dehydration or hydrating, I think it's more complicated than just drinking a bunch of water, because our body obviously has to take the water and order it and make this new water, this easy zone water in the cell to actually get the function out. And of course, water has other functions, but could, this cellular dehydration affect this process?
Yes, you're absolutely right. You need water. Without enough water in the cells, that is a process that will never work.
Right.
And you are also right to say the body has to produce, and what we are doing is we are helping it from the outset to produce this easy water. To drink easy water wouldn't do anything, because in the moment the surface, say you have a glass and you treat the glass, the water in the glass, the easy water is formed on the surface, never the entire glass. We know that easy water has a higher density. If you would have an entire glass with easy water, it would be heavier. And those things. So it is never a huge bulk. Bulk water you cannot turn into easy water. Because the other name, because of the higher density, is also that this water is a kind of gel-like density. I don't think you even would like to drink it. So it is important that it's being built at the point of interest, where it is needed, and then you use all the technology and the knowledge to achieve this build of the water at the point of interest.
Yeah, you said Pollock was the first to talk about this fourth phase of water. Is there more science now? Because he got some criticism 16 years ago or whenever he first started speaking about it, maybe a little before that. Where's the science now on this? Has he been found that he's right about this fourth phase of water?
Oh yes, it is by far not only the group around Professor Pollack is doing this work.
Okay.
So we are working with the entire international community in this area. Since 16 years is a science conference about water science. Last year it was the first time in Germany. There are international scientists from a lot of different institutes and universities. They confirm, they work on different other ways. They see where it is all important, not only in cell biology, like I mentioned, it is important in a lot of other areas too. In not only in biology, also in pure technical areas. So that is pretty much confirmed with a lot of research areas and other institutes who are more in the area of inventing new areas, inventing new technologies. They are taking this knowledge, because it is very fundamental knowledge, taking it in and try to produce other products, other devices for our advantages.
Yeah, I know Pollock speaks highly of your device. I think he's used it in some of his studies. Am I right on that?
I know that he used it. Yeah, we are not working directly with his laboratory because they are in fundamental research involved.
Right.
We are working now with, and fundamental research does not use existing products like ours. We are working with universities and research institutes who have technology to prove all these things that I mentioned, of the formation of coherent aggregates, of the formation of easy water when the coherent aggregate hits it, and to optimize our technology. So in this moment, that is not so fundamental research, that is more applied research.
So yeah, I mean, I was going to ask that question. I mean, as far as research goes, how much research would you like to speak about utilizing this device with certain conditions? Have you done that research yet? Yeah, I mean, share.
Yeah, our research, again, that we do with the universities is based on the impact on the proteins. We would like to see, do we improve the protein folding process?
Right.
They fold faster, and we also could show that there's a protection component in it, because if enough of the easy water surrounding a protein, it protects it against attacks and damages from free radicals. So we have two-line benefit out of it. The research that we did in it is now, these devices are now in the market and approved as medical devices since 10 years. Beforehand, we did a lot of research. We do constantly upgrade in areas. Since a while, we have a second highly absorbable, even more absorbable wavelengths in the devices to incorporate these in devices, to make these devices better, is based on research, to see before and after comparisons. The next step to do is the proof and showing the effectiveness on a human body, on an individual,
right.
is mainly used then in the sports field, because these people know and have technology to record their generation status, in which kind of state it is. Today, for example, soccer players, as an example, they are not getting into a game if they are not 100% regenerated, because they are too expensive, those players.
Yeah.
If they're not regenerated enough, they accumulate more and more and more damage, and you will lose your investment. So high-end sport people, they have to regenerate, and only then they're going back into the game. Otherwise, it would be, for everybody, not a beneficial thing.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of measurements, they have a lot of possibilities to record the state. In
Right.
the other area, where we talk about certain kind of disorders, it becomes a little bit more complicated, because like I said, we know only 30,000 proteins out of 900. To see that we have a benefit on a very, very specific protein, we have to know at first how it looks like. And the technology is not there now to find out what kind of protein is actually damaged. But we could see that on every test what we do, and that is also what the literature and the research said, all proteins are folded based on the same thermodynamic entropy change. That all the proteins that we don't even know are being beneficially affected.
So this device, I mean, I mentioned that my doctors have them in their clinics. I have one. My friend Ben has one. Yeah, I mean, you've made it more affordable for the people at home. I think you have different devices. I know that Ashley, I think we have a home unit that people can get. We have different office units. What does the price point start now for someone who wants to get this technology at home for recovery?
Yeah, the low price point is where it starts a little bit above $5,000. and that should last for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that you have to be refilled or reloaded or anything like this. You need a little bit distilled water. That's the
Yeah.
only thing to keep it clean. And the rest is really only a little bit power to run the device and to run the pumps out there. And then it goes up depending on how much more performance you would like to get out of it. So the high-end devices, these are devices which are either going to people who can afford around $15,000 device, or who provide the service to a lot of more people during the day.
Right.
So that is not only a medical office, these are performance centers, and an entire big range is corporate wellness, where corporations are understanding that the prevention of problems is very, very important. Not wait until you have a problem, prevent it before and you keep healthy and high-performing colleagues in your company.
You can stop sharing your screen. I think you'll come back in a little bit larger there. But yeah, so what do you think this, the fourth phase of water, this is very new to people, right? I mean, we know this is where we fold these proteins, et cetera. Where do you think the research is going to take us?
I think the research will go in different directions. One is to optimize those technologies like we have, because we have next and generations ideas. Currently, we cannot, technology-wise, we cannot incorporate it in the current devices. It would be simply too expensive. We would see the knowledge of easy water in completely other devices. That could be environmentally very helpful devices, could be for energy generation, very helpful devices. When you think about it, that easy water, I mentioned it, forms on surfaces. Let's assume you take a very thin tube and you create easy water. The inside of the tube would be easy water. The other material component is easy water is negative charged. So having inside the tube negative charged would create automatically a flow of the water within the tube. So this flow could get used for pumping system. You could clean water with this thing. And those things. Because the other part, exclusion zone, the name is because the water takes and presses everything out of this area that doesn't belong there, because it's highly ordered, it's denser, so all the dirt is getting out of this one. So you can filter and you can clean water by producing easy zone. You only have to take then this water out and you use it. So the inside of a tube would be dirty, the outside of the tube is clean. So there's a lot of technical applications. But in this case, for example, we need at first long and many of those small tubes. Then it would work without any big pumping system. We could have a flow of water running in those systems. So the use of this technology, of this knowledge, is almost endless, and would help us to work with the attributes, with the water material attributes for our benefit.
Yeah. Well, we know it's healing to the body, that's for sure. I mean, proteins. I mean, this is everything. We started the conversation there. This is hormones. This is energy. This is who you are. We are proteins, right? I think it's a clever, it's just an amazing biohack around the epidemic of what's going wrong with people today at the cellular level. It really is. I think that's why this thing is caught on. Really, it's so simple to do. You can do it, while you're doing other things. That's what I love about it. I don't have to take an hour out of my day. I just do it while I'm doing something else, like this interview. So, wow, amazing technology, Hans. I appreciate you bringing it. Any last words on something you feel that people need to know about this water?
About this water, yeah, like you said, we are made out of this water. We live only because it is formed in our cells. I think we can address a lot of problems, the aging, slowing the aging down. Yeah, our society is a high-performing society.
Yeah.
Yeah? We are starting now with 60, 65, all those things, another career. Yeah?
Yeah.
We need all our performance levels. We need the biochemical components eating correctly. We have so much knowledge about what kind of biochemical components we use in our system, yeah, but they only use when the proteins are working. Yeah? So we can take everything a step further, a step higher for our benefits. Yeah, what we eat, what we intake, what we supplement, what we avoid. Yeah? Even the detoxification. Yeah, we are in our environment where you live. We become toxified with certain things. Yeah, that is nothing unusual, nothing unknown for the body. Yeah, but the proteins who are taking care for the detoxification, yeah, they have to work. Yeah? So let them work, yeah, and we can cope a little bit better with our environment.
Yeah.
So,
people who bought one from the first time, I mean, I'm telling you, I've gotten emails, people raving about it, and I've heard just absolute amazing stories. By utilizing this simple form of creating more of this water in our cells. Pretty amazing.
Yep. I can tell you also, yeah, we see a lot of reports where people see benefit that they were not thinking about that could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know who you remind me of now. Sean Connery.
Oi. Why is that?
I don't know. Sean Connery. That's who it is. That's who you are. Oh, that's great. Well, Hans, thank you for being on Cell TV. What an appropriate show to talk about this the fourth phase of water. You'll be hearing more about it. This gentleman is just way ahead of the curve on this, honestly, and just, how this technology is needed in our health, at the heart of why people don't feel well.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I will share your thank you with the entire team that is here. Yeah, it's not only my work. Yeah, and yeah, people should feel free to go to our website. We have animations that explain this process.
Yeah, we'll provide that. And we'll provide the link to. I think we have a link. You gave us a discount to pass on to our viewers. We'll pass that on through the link. So Ashley will add all of the links and anything you feel that they need with your website, so they can view it and understand it better. Because it's very complicated science. We're trying to make it simple, but the fact is that it's complicated. So, let's get them as much information as we can, and the link to purchase one, because people will want one in their homes. This will take their health to the next level. So thank you, Hans.
Thank you, Dan. It was a pleasure to be with you here.
Yeah, I almost called you Sean, but we won't do that.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hans. Bye.
Bye.
Well, that's it for this week. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. This episode was brought to you by CytoDetox. Please check it out at buycytonow.com. We'll be back next week and every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. We truly appreciate your support. You can always find us at cellularhealing.tv, and please remember to spread the love by liking, subscribing, giving an iTunes review, and sharing the show with anyone you think may benefit from the information heard here. And as always, thanks for listening.